Hi, everyone. Thank you for getting things started, Stephanie. My name is Caroline, and I will be leading today's presentation. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. We'll still give everyone a few minutes here to get logged in. And while we're waiting, I would love to hear where everyone is tuning in from. I am based here in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you want to share where you're coming from, you can type it into the chat box. And we look forward to getting started here in just a minute. Wow, I already see all around the country. Chicago, Arizona, Oregon. I see some other Atlanta people. Rico, Philadelphia, wow. South Carolina, Ohio. I see some other people from the Georgia area, South Africa. Wow, so we have international participants joining us today. This is so cool to see. New York, New Jersey. Awesome. So yeah, we are, it looks like we have participants from all over the country and internationally. It's one of the things that I love so much about virtual programs and webinars, that, you know, being able to talk with you from all over and, you know, be able to expand your reach and learn from professionals doing all different types of programming all across the country. Awesome.
Cool. Caroline, I think we're ready to get started. Everyone, you can't see me, but you can hear me. I'm Stephanie. I'm from Healthie, and I'm really excited to have Caroline presenting today. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box. We will get to the Q&A at the end. This will be recorded, so if you have to tune, if you came in late or you've got to leave early, don't worry about it. I'll send the recording out to everyone afterwards, as well as some additional resources. But yeah, we're going to get started. I'm really happy to introduce Caroline for you. She's going to introduce herself. But Caroline, she's a Healthie member here. She works with Good Measure Meals, which is part of Open Hand Atlanta, a wonderful nonprofit organization. We are so thankful and lucky to have them part of our Healthie community. Caroline is a wealth of information and knowledge. We're all going to take away something fabulous today. So Caroline, if you want to kick it off, go ahead.
All right, great. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here today and spend some time talking with you all about corporate wellness and how to establish and create successful programs. So just to give you a brief introduction about who I am and how our company, Good Measure Meals, got started in the corporate wellness space. Here's the slide. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video here during the presentation, and then I'll pop back on at the end for the Q&A. So I am the Corporate and Community Wellness Manager at Good Measure Meals. So we are local to Atlanta. We are a meal prep and delivery service. So we provide nutritionally balanced and fully prepared meals, as well as nutrition education to our community members, so that we can empower our customers to not only take charge of their own health, but while also supporting the greater good through our contribution to our parent nonprofit organization, Open Hand Atlanta. So as a social enterprise, Good Measure Meals serves as a sustainable solution to generate revenue for Open Hand Atlanta, which provides medically tailored meals and nutrition education for those in the metro Atlanta area who are underserved, chronically ill, or nutritionally at risk and too sick to cook for themselves. So 100% of the profits that we make at Good Measure Meals from our meal plan services and corporate wellness programming goes directly back to support Open Hand's work in the community. So you may be wondering kind of where the corporate wellness story fits into this. So through our meal plan services, we developed many partnerships with corporations who are interested in having healthy meal options for their employees, especially that they're fully prepared, convenient, and healthy, balanced meals. So through these relationships, we saw, the need and the interest in nutrition programming within the corporate space. And we already had an established team of dietitians that were providing nutrition education in our community. So when we saw this kind of gap on the corporate side, it led us to launch our corporate wellness program. So I wanted to give just this intro about and some background about how we got started, because I know all of you tuning in have your own unique story and background through your work in nutrition, health, and wellness. So moving into the corporate wellness space will likely look different for each of us. But that said, our hope is that over the next hour, I can share what we have experienced and learned over the years at Good Measure to provide resources, tools, and guidance to empower you and help you get started, no matter where you're starting from. So before we jump into the presentation, I wanted to hear from you guys to help kind of guide our conversation and get a better idea of who I'm talking with. So we have 2 poll questions for you. So if you can respond to these, and then we'll give you guys just a minute or so and we will pull up the results. So yeah, the first question is, do you currently provide corporate wellness services? So maybe you're already in this space. You might just be getting started, or maybe you haven't started yet, but you're really interested in it. And then we would love to kind of hear what different professions we have tuning in: dietitians, nutritionists, health coach, trainers, or other professions. So just let us know, and we will share the results here in just a bit. So Stephanie, do we have some good responses coming in?
Yeah, it looks like most everyone's responded. So it seems like about 20% of everyone is already working in the corporate wellness space. About 20% are just getting started, just dipping their toes in. And 60% of you are not yet in corporate wellness, but you're really interested in it. So that's awesome to hear. Awesome. And then for our professions, we are about 60% dietitians, 12% nutritionists, 30% health coaches, because a lot of us have multiple specialties. We have about 10% personal trainers, and 20% of you have an other category checked, which is really interesting.
Awesome. Great, thank you for responding and sharing that with us. I think it's nice not only for me to kind of hear who I'm talking with, but also for you guys to kind of know who is kind of in this space. And it's really neat to see the variety of professions, and also those that are just getting started, those that are contemplating, and those that are already in this space. We can learn from you as well. So, what also, if you're wondering if this is the right fit for you, and maybe you're ready to jump in, but you're not sure how to get started, you're looking to expand your reach, I'm glad that you're here. You're in the right place. And so our experiences will be coming from our kind of niche area at Good Measure, which is providing nutrition programming within the corporate wellness space, led by our team of dietitians. So that is kind of the experience that I can speak from, and talk about how trends have evolved over the years, how things have changed and that we've learned along the way. And a lot of this information is still, going to be able to, you can still apply it to other professions, other areas, when talking about establishing clients, generating leads, and looking at program development, your topics might be a bit different, but you can use all of this as a foundation in looking to get into that corporate wellness space. All right. So the four main topics that we're going to go through today, we're going to start with briefly reviewing the value of corporate wellness and the opportunity for incorporating more nutrition-based programs in this space, and how having nutrition professionals in this space can be really critical. We're also going to discuss program development, including different types and topics, the importance of establishing a variety of measurable outcomes, and then different delivery methods such as in-person or live, recorded, and looking at virtual programming as well. And then once we've gone through those kind of basics of getting started, we're gonna discuss how to establish your client base. So I'll be sharing our experiences with establishing and maintaining client relationships by understanding who those key decision makers are and how to generate these leads. And then once those clients start to show interest, we'll talk about best practices for getting to know your client and tailoring your programs. And then we're gonna go through different areas of best practices for measuring success and what this will look like in terms of program evaluations and outcomes, as well as your own more personal and business-oriented success measures, so looking at profit and growth. And then I also, we've provided some resources for you at the end to get you started, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So as Stephanie mentioned, please feel free, if questions come up during the session, you can just pop them into the Q&A box and then we will discuss them at the end. So when looking at corporate or workplace wellness and thinking about the value and then the opportunity for nutrition, I wanted to first, just go briefly through what corporate wellness can offer and the value. So I know that, many of you are aware of the value and the importance and health outcomes that are shown within corporate wellness programs, but I wanted to briefly run through some of the top benefits to lay the foundation to kind of show where healthcare professionals have a unique opportunity in this corporate wellness space. So of course there's improved health behaviors, whether that's an increase in frequency of exercise or increase in consumption of fruits and vegetables, also increased employee productivity. Research actually shows that employees with an unhealthy diet are 66% more likely to have productivity loss than employees who regularly consumed whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. So, and kind of thinking about it in a little bit more of a holistic approach and how your nutrition-related habits can affect productivity. And then this point here, thinking about the reduction in healthcare and insurance costs, which is also similar to fewer sick days and less absenteeism. So this is kind of where corporate wellness, I feel like, really got started and looking at reducing those healthcare costs, and they saw good benefits there. But what's interesting is to kind of see the trends and how and what employers are looking for out of their corporate wellness programs. There has been a recent study that showed that the desirable outcomes for wellness programs have shifted more towards wanting to increase employee retention, satisfaction, morale, and culture over healthcare cost saving. So, the idea is that by, increasing satisfaction, culture through different programs, wellness-related programs, that ultimately in turn will likely reduce those healthcare costs as well. But it's really neat to kind of see how that trend is shifting and kind of wanting to boost that culture and morale. So it can be a bit challenging for some companies to gather that specific data around this point. But I just wanted to make sure to note that, because I think it allows for us to then create more creative programming that maybe isn't so number-based, and kind of expand kind of what services we want to offer. So then when looking at the opportunity for nutrition, so again, you know, within our corporate wellness program, our niche area is providing nutrition-focused programs in the corporate wellness space, led by dietitians. So while corporate wellness programs have been well established, you know, since around 2010, they're continuing to grow, becoming more robust and offering a wider range of services. But many of them lack that nutrition education and support, especially provided by dietitians and other nutrition professionals. So this is a key component that's missing in many programs. So that's kind of where we found our niche area. And then with our team of dietitians, we're able to, you know, implement programming that can be more related to medical nutrition, looking at chronic disease management, like blood sugar management, cholesterol, high blood pressure. So looking at more of those medical related conditions. And also what is, you know, really key when, you know, starting your corporate wellness services is knowing that the employers are coming to you kind of for this expert advice. They're often coming in with, you know, maybe limited knowledge surrounding nutrition programs, because, you know, that's not part of their job. And so they're really looking at you to help guide them in what direction to take. So I think this allows a really neat opportunity to offer programs that might be missing, be innovative and creative, and offer programs that might be different than what they have done in the past. So there is definitely a great opportunity here within this space. I mean, you know, and as you're developing your programs, you want to make sure it's unique to your own style, and that your topics fall in line with your own nutrition philosophy, so that you can inspire your clients, and also show that it doesn't have to be done the same way that it always has been done. So it's a really neat opportunity, and you know, a gap that definitely exists, and we can be there to support it. All right, so now going into developing programs. So we're going to go through types and topics, measurable outcomes, and then different delivery methods. So when thinking about the type and topics, we have developed kind of 4 main areas of services that we offer. And this, you know, is just through our experiences. So I wanted to provide some examples to kind of help get you started. So, you know, we have our traditional lunch and learns, wellness presentations, that is going to provide, you know, that group education focused on a specific nutrition related topic. So it really deepens those nutrition foundations and knowledge, and hopes to, you know, kind of simplify some of that nutrition information out there, and provide that sustainable and evidence-based guidance. And then we also offer cooking demos, which are really great options to provide, especially in the corporate space. It's something different, it's interactive, engaging, it feels, you know, more hands-on. And what I have found is that it feels more relatable and relevant for people. They can take the recipes home with them. They can, you know, go ahead and make that dish that week. So it really kind of spurs that excitement. And also you can talk about different types of cuisines, and people can add their own insights and their own experiences with cooking. So it makes it really interactive and fun. And then we also offer wellness challenges and workshops. So these are really, you know, fun, because you work with a cohort of employees, and it's a series-based or you're doing a challenge with pre and post data, and it really allows more interaction and ongoing support that we all know is so important for making sustainable changes. And we'll talk more about this in a bit, but this is where the Healthie platform is so great for this. It allows you to put all of your information in one place and provide that ongoing support in such an efficient and safe, using a safe platform, secure. Clients are comfortable with it, and it's so easy to use and track. So that's really a huge component there. And then also individual nutrition counseling. So, you know, if you are in a private practice space and you are primarily providing those individual nutrition services, it could be a really good opportunity and your reach. You already have such great experience in that area. And then as you're moving into the corporate wellness side, you can still offer those individual services and do it through the corporate level, and then expand into those presentations and demos and things like that. So it's a really unique opportunity as well to expand. So then when thinking about measurable outcomes, the Healthie platform, again, is so helpful for this in order to evaluate and track metrics. And so it's just important to make sure that you establish those goals at the beginning, as we all know. And, you know, this is something that you would work on with the employer. You know, they have goals that they are probably already interested in looking at. They might have certain outcomes that they're looking for. So you'll be working collaboratively with the employer to establish those goals. So looking at different examples, looking at habit change, so doing a pre and post questionnaire, which you can do in Healthie using forms. And I'm going to go through a little more details with some kind of quick tips with creating programs in Healthie, but I will have a resource slide at the end that includes the Healthie tutorials and live classes and all of those great resources so that you can check those out. And then another metric or a measurable outcome is looking at body composition changes. So this is one of the more traditional kind of corporate wellness outcome measures. It is a little bit easier to track because it has more quantitative data. And what the benefit is of using body composition as opposed to just one number on a scale is that we're looking at body fat percentage and we're looking at muscle mass changes. So it gives you a better picture of that real change that's happening and to be able to promote long-term success. So we offer those services, and then also you can track lab values and biometrics. So while we don't personally provide those services, it might be where the employer has someone come in to have all their employees get their lab values checked, maybe like cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure. And then what's a really key component to that is having a nutrition professional come in, or health coach, and come in and talk about how to make changes and really provide that one-on-one support. Also doing group classes, and it can be specific around those outcomes they're looking to change. So that's kind of where you can kind of fit into a program that they are maybe already offering, and then you can provide your services within that. And then physical activity. Of course, looking at frequency, duration, number of steps, track physical activity changes. And what's really great with the Healthie platform, as I'm sure many of you know, is that you can integrate wearable devices like a Fitbit or Apple Watch and track those changes within Healthie. So those are just some examples when thinking about when you're developing your programs. You just want to have those outcomes established up front so you kind of know where to guide your programs, what areas you want to be focusing on, if any pre-surveys or pre-data needs to happen, if you're doing a challenge. So kind of just thinking through that first and then working backwards. And then when now you've developed your programs and we are looking at different types of delivery methods. So I am sure that many of you have had lots of changes just like us, and are maybe no longer doing any in-person programs or counseling right now, and you might have switched over to primarily virtual programs. So that's what we have been doing. But prior to March, we primarily led our programs in person. We would go off-site to our different corporate clients. So we had to make a quick shift, like many other people out there, not only us, but our clients. So we fortunately had the Healthie platform to help us get that support going, and be able to launch our virtual programs pretty quickly. So it's definitely been a learning experience, and we're testing out different methods and learning, as we go. But I'm going to go through kind of some pros and cons to both. So, since we did traditionally provide more in-person programs, being in person, having that face-to-face connection can allow for more active participation and engagement. It's easier to keep people focused, less distractions like emails and phone calls coming in. So you do have that different level of connection there. But at the same time, it can be less accessible for remote workers or, those that are off-site during many times during the day, or just their schedule, couldn't allow for it. So that's where the virtual programming has a really unique opportunity to, reach more people within the company, and also provide just kind of a different type of experience. So when thinking about how to deliver your virtual programs, you can do live programs like we're doing now, using Zoom through Healthie, or if your client prefers a certain, platform like WebEx we've used, Microsoft Teams, like all the different type of platforms, but you can still use the Healthie components and create your programs through there, which is really great. And then you can also do pre-recorded programs. So when thinking about those live programs and the pros there, it is going to be great to have more accessibility. We have gotten some feedback from some of the programs we've done virtually, and we had participants mention how nice it was to just be able to tune in from their desk. They could be eating their lunch and just be able to enjoy that time right from their desk. Also, definitely could have higher attendance in terms of remote workers, or if they have multiple locations. And then there's the option to, send the recording afterwards, which is a huge benefit, for those that couldn't attend, and also those that want, to use it as a reference. But then, with the kind of the cons that come along with it, it just, you might lose some attention during the session. But that is where I think that there's going to be a lot of expansion in how we can really get interactive. Zoom makes it really easy to, be able to ask poll questions, type in the chat box. That was some other great feedback we've gotten. Participants said they love being able to, talk to each other in the chat box. So if you're working with a corporate client, they can kind of get that community-based feeling while they're all working remotely. So it brings people together. And so a lot of great benefits to it. And then there's the pre-recorded programs, which the Healthie platform, I don't know how many of you have experimented with the programs feature, but we've used it in a few different ways. So even if I am giving a live presentation, or, you know, when we go back to doing in person, I still, you know, will create the program within Healthie, because you can store all of your handouts within there. You can put the recording once you've given the presentation. Any supplemental materials can go in there. And the way that we've kind of set it up is that, and I'll talk about this in a bit when we talk about the key decision makers and your main contact you'll be working with. But I kind of have created it so it's almost like an account management system for those corporate clients. And they've really enjoyed it because they can see all of their information in one place. You can send your invoices through Healthie. They can make their payment directly in there. It really streamlines that process. And then as soon as they make that payment, they'll have access to the program. They can download the slides, the handouts, all of that, and then, you know, distribute it out to their employees. So it's been a really great kind of process for us using those programs feature. Okay. So now we're going to go through how to establish those client relationships. So now that we've kind of talked about the program development side, you have your, you know, menu of offerings ready to go. The next step is getting this information in front of the clients. So we're going to discuss who those key decision makers are within the corporate wellness space, so you can better understand who you should be reaching out to, you know, and to promote your services. And then we're going to go through how to generate those leads and how to contact them, and then going through the onboarding process and how to really get to know your clients and tailor your programs accordingly. So from our experiences, we have found kind of these two main contact types. So there is the external personnel that you might be working with, and these are benefits and insurance consultants. So they are, you know, working within benefits firms that, you know, provide consulting services for corporate clients to assist with benefits and wellness initiatives. So they're basically, and there's a few different types of these companies, but basically they are kind of serving as a liaison between insurance companies and the client, like the corporate client. So they are this kind of third party middle person helping to kind of bridge the benefits that their company has to offer and really enhance those wellness programs. So what's really beneficial about getting to know these consultants and working with them is that they have a pretty good foundation and understanding of what wellness programs work. They really know their clients, so they can give you kind of all of that information so that you can then establish those programs and tailor them to best kind of fit their needs. And then they also have multiple clients. So once you kind of work with a few consultants, they can lead you to different clients as well. So it's a really great relationship to establish. And we're going to talk about kind of how to network and make these connections here in just a bit. And then the other bucket is the that internal personnel, which is most often someone within the HR department, you know, especially with smaller companies, it usually kind of starts within the wellness department. They might have some sort of small wellness committee, but it's usually going to be who your main contact is when you're on site or when you're working directly with that client. So, you know, even if you are working with their benefits consultant, you will, you know, eventually be introduced and meet with that internal personnel to kind of coordinate your events and also to get feedback and understand what their population is interested in, any, you know, evaluations from the program, and as well as kind of what what they feel, how well the programs went. They can help with tracking participation, and they're really your kind of wellness champion within the organization. Because, you know, we're coming in as a third party to come in and provide this programming. So, you know, you want to, you know, establish that relationship so that they can get excited about it, and then, you know, get their employees excited about it as well. And, you know, that can help increase participation and outcomes when you have, you know, a team that's really on board. So those are the kind of two people that you're going to want, two groups of people that you'll primarily be working with, at least from our experiences. And then, okay, so we know who to contact. Now here's the how, and how to generate leads. So there's kind of three main buckets that we're going to talk about here. So the first one is through digital marketing. So if you're in the private practice space, you know that generating leads feels like a full-time job, but there are some things that you can do to set up in the digital realm to work for you while you're then spending time developing and delivering those programs. So, you know, as part of our company, while I am not always involved in the ins and outs of our digital marketing, there are 4 high-level and kind of fundamental points to consider when it comes to generating leads within this digital space. And we have on the resource slide a bunch of different marketing examples and articles and resources for you. But just to briefly go through them, kind of the first thing is to optimize your website so that the search engines like Google can better find your services and list them as search results for your potential clients. So appearing high in the searches performed by your potential clients is key to being seen. But establishing that credibility with Google can take some effort. So I won't go into all of the details here, but it's really looking at that SEO and search engine optimization. It involves critically thinking through the search terms and phrases for your potential clients, you know, what they might be typing into Google, because you want to be found. And then making sure the pages of your website incorporate those answers so that they can, you know, find you through their search queries. So for this space, it might look like, you know, including, of course, corporate wellness, employee or work site wellness, some of those different phrases that are used, putting in, of course, your local area, maybe nutrition services, wellness challenges, cooking demos, you know, those kind of keywords that people might be searching for. So yes, there is a Google guide for how to get started with SEO. If anyone is new to this concept or would like some further information. And then the second component with digital marketing is to make a name for yourself within the digital field. So for those of you that are in private practice, already kind of have established practice, you probably already have a good portfolio of information that you can share and put on your page so that it really builds that credibility. And then as you're moving into the corporate wellness space, you can then add those things in. So examples could also include, you know, articles or blog posts that you've written for other companies or websites or partners, you know, always making sure to include those, you know, participating in social media chats, you know, showing that you're an expert within your field, and yeah, strengthening that social media presence or LinkedIn as well to really get your, you know, put your name out there and show that your credibility and your expertise so people can easily see that. And then, you know, when thinking about your website and when someone does come to your website, you do want to, you know, make sure that those first-time visitors are able to quickly connect with you. So you want to showcase your value for corporate clients up front and have an easy way to onboard them into the conversation with you. So your goal is to get them to reach out to you. So we want to make it easy for them and have some different contact methods so that you can continue that conversation. So I have linked our web page, our Good Measure Meals corporate wellness page, and you can kind of see some examples of how we have done this if you need some ideas for getting started. And then also, you can also look at some of the investing in some paid search or Google ads if you get to that point. But I think there's a lot of steps that you can take before even kind of getting to that point. So that's in the digital space. But now looking at generating leads through networking and making connections. So, within your local area, looking for different organizations that you can get involved with. So in Atlanta, we have a great organization for wellness professionals. So you can join, you become a member, you get to know other wellness professionals in your area. You can learn from them, see what programs they're doing, what, work together collaboratively to really enhance corporate wellness offerings. And also they're working in so many different spaces, different corporate spaces, so then you can get to know them and they can, they can become clients or they can lead you to new clients. So finding those kind of local organizations and becoming a part of them is really beneficial. And then also looking at how you can get your name out there in this space is attending health fairs. So I know right now that there might not be as many in-person health fairs, but companies are still really wanting to provide these wellness services for their employees. So, finding ways to get involved with any initiatives they're already doing and providing, what services you have to offer. You could do something, like a quick Q&A session, maybe something at a lower or reduced cost when you're getting started, so they can kind of get to know you, and then you can kind of build up from there. And then also thinking about your own personal network, with, the clients already established, and thinking kind of who they know and if they can make any connections for you, that's a great place to start as well. And then the word of mouth and referrals. So this kind of goes back to developing and implementing high quality programs so that if people are there's great outcomes, people are enjoying your programs, then they're referring you to either their other clients or other local companies. And it can really start a great referral kind of system, especially as you're really building out your programs and showing your successful outcomes. Okay. So now that we're at the point where your clients have showed interest, they are reaching out and ready to, see more details about what programs you have to offer and how it can work for their employees. So this is where you really get to know your clients, and this is where those relationship and interpersonal skills, are so important. And as healthcare professionals, I feel like we're already pretty passionate about what we do, and we want to see that success in our clients. So don't be afraid to show this side of you. You want your employer and your client to feel heard and understood, just like you would an individual client. So, asking those really specific and intentional questions to get to know your client and their employee population. So some specific kind of or example questions that I like to ask is, understanding their background and experiences with wellness programming. So are they new to wellness programming? Have they been doing it for a while? What type of engagement or participation have they gotten in the past? What worked, what didn't? And really learning from those past experiences so that you can, tailor the programs accordingly. And then also understanding, general demographics. So the total number of employees, what their age ranges, gender, race, socioeconomic status. So really kind of getting to understand who you'll be working with. seeing if they're interested in any specific topics, specific outcomes, and also understanding their type of work. You don't have to know all the details, but are they primarily working at their desk most of the day? Are they more hands-on or active? Are they off-site or on-site most of the time? So really just understanding that side of it. And then also, especially now with so much change, this influx of virtual programs, you do want to understand what experiences they've had with virtual programming, and see kind of what's worked for them in that setting as well, so that you can really work with them to kind of enhance that side. And I think that's where being a Healthie user is going to really set you apart, because you already have this great platform ready for you, and you can use that to really enhance those virtual programs. So once you've gotten to know them, you're going to tailor the programs around what they're looking for. You want to also be thinking about, establishing that long-term relationship. So, being open and flexible is really going to help to establish that longevity, as well as, of course, delivering those high-quality programs. So another thing to consider around this point is to create a strategy with your client up front in order to kind of have a systematic way of pushing out your programming. So looking at the frequency and the cadence of programming. So looking at the whole year and seeing if they want to do, monthly programs, quarterly, if they're looking to do a challenge, when is that going to fall into it? And really kind of planning for the whole year ahead of time when possible. And so when thinking about, looking at the whole year, there are some, when thinking about when you want to be reaching out to those corporate clients, most of the time they are, figuring out their budget for the following year during that last quarter. So maybe start reaching out in the fall, October, and then really starting to kind of establish those dates and come up with a proposal for the following year, so that you kind of get in that budget and before they've finalized their budget, so you can fit in there. And of course, tweaks can be made throughout the year, but establishing some sort of cadence and frequency up front is going to be, really important in establishing a long-term relationship. Okay. So I want to make sure I allow some time here for questions. So we are finishing up here. Just a few more minutes on these slides, and then we'll move into Q&A. So this last area that we're going to discuss is kind of how to best measure success and what this looks like in terms of client relationships, as well as your more personal and business-oriented success measures. So when thinking about your evaluations and outcomes and what it looks like for you to determine partner success. So this is where survey and program evaluation is essential. So, sending out a survey after the program to get feedback from participants is key. I know that we all know this, but it's something that just can give quick information in real time so that you can use that and then, change accordingly and see what is working and what isn't. So not only do you want to get that feedback from the actual participants, but you want to get feedback from your key contact that you're working with, the employer, to see what they, think about the programs and if it's kind of meeting the needs that they are looking for. So just keeping that communication consistent. Survey questions can range from, just asking about the topic, if it's relevant, how the presentation went in terms of presenter knowledge and energy, any other areas they might be interested in. So, you can ask a variety of questions, but of course, making sure that you're asking those questions that are specific and will give you, data that you can really use. And then, of course, once you have this information, checking it consistently so that you can make those changes in real time. And you can also, make it specific to that client. And if you want to, you can share, this information with the employer. So it really can show you a few different areas. And then when you're looking more at your own success and where you want to see growth, this is going to be different for each and every one of us, depending on where you are in this process. If this is something new to you or you're doing it, it's maybe just on the side or maybe half-time or full-time. So that's going to look different in terms of your goals that you're working on. But you do want to establish those goals and track them. So you might have revenue or profit goals, number of new clients you want to reach, how many referral sources come in, and then look at them, throughout the whole year, assess quarterly, monthly, so that you're really able to see what is going on and what trends you see. And again, so this, will look different for each, for all of us, but definitely establishing some sort of tracking method that's going to work for you. All right. So those are the main topic areas that we're going to cover. And then I did want to just provide this resource slide for you all so that you can have some resources to get started and take action. So in thinking about establishing clients, we have our Good Measure website listed here that you can visit. And then also a starter guide for getting started with Google SEO. And then this is an article by HubSpot talking about kind of the marketing 101, B2B marketing specifically. And then also wanted to provide a resource specific to how COVID-19 is changing the kind of marketing strategy. So that is there as well. And then all of these amazing Healthie resources. I have learned so much through the resources that Healthie has already developed. So live classes are great. You can sign up and you can ask all your questions and have that live experience. And then Healthie University has pre-recorded and free trainings. And then on the blog, I wanted to show two specific resources that Healthie has. There's a guide for a dietitian's guide to corporate wellness, and then an ebook, marketing for nutrition professionals. So all of those are linked here, and we'll make sure that you guys get these resources. Okay, so if we want to go ahead and start with the questions, I'll be ready to go.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you. That was awesome. Just to clarify for everyone, we'll send the replay of the video of the webinar in an email, and along with that, we'll attach that resources slide so you can click on all the links and get your resources. So don't worry, we'll send them to you. Caroline, for the Q&A, I'm going to start off with the most popular question by far. We have a lot of questions about pricing, how to price your programs, how to set up any competitive bidding, if there's any percentage that the employer generally subsidizes, any light that you want to shed on pricing.
Great question. So yes, pricing, this is one of the areas that is hard to determine, especially as you are getting started. But of course, looking at it just in a general sense, your time is valuable. You're an expert in this field. So really base your pricing around the true amount of time commitment needed for, each programming option. So for example, pricing is going to look different depending on the type of program. So if you're doing a cooking demo, not only do you want to account for those food costs, you also want to account for the time it takes to prep an advanced grocery shop. That adds into your total time. It's not just the time you're in front of the client. So just making sure to be mindful of that and factoring that in. Also, you can look at different pricing structures. If you're delivering more foundational level programs, so more of like the basics, that could be at a lower cost. And then if it's a higher level program or details, could be a bit of a higher rate. And then if you're developing something custom for that client, there's going to be a higher cost for that kind of custom rate. So those are just kind of some different ways to structure it. Also making sure to include travel time within there, that setup time. And then if you're doing challenges, and you are going to be doing data entry, managing the data. Also, if you are, using, you're providing that kind of ongoing support during a challenge. If you're in the Healthie platform and you're responding to food journals, you're responding to the chats, including that as, a service fee as well. So kind of thinking about all the different factors and the true kind of time commitment when thinking about your price. And then, it is going to be also dependent on kind of where you live, what part of, the country you're in, what, the typical kind of market price point might be in your area. So hopefully that answered the question. I know pricing can be tricky. And there's not a lot of information out there on how to determine these prices, but this kind of what we have based our prices on, and also, looking at that market price point.
Yeah, and knowing that there's no like magic number to offer, and I'm sure you've also had to work with the budgets that employers and teams have had to present as well. So, I think sometimes we as dietitians, we're looking for a magic number. How much of the corporate wellness services? And that's really great to outline how much time you're spending and to account for all of that.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Caroline, do you have any experience, this is from Sean, a couple of people asked this, with the Blue Zone initiative? Is that something that exists in Atlanta?
I am not familiar with that.
Okay, I think that, it seems someone asked that from Oklahoma, so I don't know if that's something that was or specific to Oklahoma. But yeah, sorry, have not heard of the Blue Zone initiative.
I'll have to look it up. Is it I wonder, I'll have to look it up. I'm curious now.
Yeah, and let's see, this we kind of answered, but are you finding more employers are, someone's certification of Blue Zone areas? All right, guys, if you wanna email Caroline or you want to email me as well, we're happy to sort of look into that and find any more information on the Blue Zone areas. Let's see, other questions. Caroline, you spoke to this a bit. How long do your programs typically run for? 30 days, 60 days? I know it's pretty custom, but if you want to elaborate there. Yeah,
that's a great question. So the way that we have traditionally done programs, we kind of offer standalone programs. So it could be, just a lunch and learn or a cooking demo. So we've developed different topics and presentations and demos that we already kind of have a bank of. And then we, provide those specific topics to the client. So a lot of them are, it could just be that we do like an hour presentation once a month with a variety of topics, or, a cooking demo quarterly. So we do a lot of standalone programs. But then when we're doing challenges, that depends on the client's budget, the, time commitment they are interested in. But we've done them ranging from, 6-week challenges to, I just recently did a challenge that was almost 4 months. So it can definitely range, based on kind of what their needs are and what time commitment they have. And it also depends on the type of challenge that you're doing. So yeah, definitely can range. And then with virtual programs, I think it is going to allow for much more flexibility around this, and being able to kind of flex the amount of time you're spending. You could do even shorter challenges. I have gotten some feedback from corporate clients that their employers are busy and they don't have enough time to sit through an hour-long presentation. So there's been some interest around doing like 30-minute sessions, doing something kind of quick, providing maybe some pre-recorded content for them. So the virtual space is opening up a lot of different opportunities that we're excited to explore.
Great. Really good question from Mohammed. Anything you would recommend for someone with a clinical background who's helping to transition into the wellness niche, in the corporate wellness niche? Any sort of education or networking opportunities that might be valuable for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, that clinical experience, I, definitely use that as a differentiator and a selling point, because, the amount of knowledge that you're coming in with, in that, when thinking about chronic conditions, is so valuable to employers, so it could be that, you're starting off with programs that are more related to that chronic illness, prevention or management. So really kind of, maybe using that as your niche area, and, kind of selling your services around that. And, thinking about, your local area, depending on the clinical setting you're working in, if they can, what any partners that you have through that, through your job, and seeing what connections you can make there. Also, getting involved with those local wellness groups that I mentioned, and seeing if there's one local to your area that you can kind of start making those connections with. But yeah, that clinical experience definitely, is definitely used as a selling point, and that's very valuable and will really set you apart.
Great. Sherry asks if she wants to see a demo of what Healthie looks like for a wellness program. Sherry, when we send the resources slide, there'll actually be a link to a Healthie Live class, and there is a live class for programs specifically. So you can join that, whether you're a Healthie member or not. You're welcome to join that class. Interesting question from Angela. She wants to know, how do you optimize LinkedIn to develop relationships and leads? If you have any insights specifically for LinkedIn.
Yeah, so I would say, I'm just thinking about our experiences. I personally haven't used LinkedIn for generating client leads, but it is just a great resource to have, so that, if a client is interested in your services, they hear about you, that you have that LinkedIn page, so that it can serve as a great visual of all that you have to offer, what your experiences are. So, if you have written any articles or blog posts, linking them to your LinkedIn profile, so that you kind of have that as a good showcasing of your offerings and what you do. But yeah, I don't have a ton of experience in generating leads through it, but it's definitely a great way to still make those connections, with your local community. So yeah, definitely having also keywords within your LinkedIn profile, so that, having wellness in there, so that, HR departments or benefits consultants kind of can see you in that area. But yeah, sorry, I can't, I don't have a ton of experience with that and gaining clients, but it is a great place to have a presence.
Thanks. And I think we have time for one more question. Caroline, let's see. This question has to do with someone experiencing pushback for the mentioned measurable outcomes and hearing from employers that they do not add to the bottom line. Can you give any tips for measuring ROI to employers?
Great question. So just to make sure I understood that. So getting pushback from the client, right?
Yeah, that it doesn't meet their bottom line. So maybe a misalignment as to what the goals are perhaps for this program, but just sort of selling for measuring the ROI. So can you give tips for measuring ROI to employers? So what is the value that your corporate wellness programs are really going to bring at the end of the day?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, that kind of, it's going to be dependent on the client and of course what those outcomes that they're looking for. And, seeing the trend that, employers are looking for that kind of boosting culture, morale, employee retention is a big focus area for a lot of employers now. Hoping that is kind of translating and will continue to grow, and seeing that there are other metrics that we can look at besides just, reducing healthcare costs. And so in terms of how to, evaluate that and show ROI, it's a little bit challenging for more of those, qualitative measures. But I think it's having a conversation and looking at, okay, here are the outcomes they're looking for, but what are some other outcomes that we can look at as well that are going to show a lot of positive change. So I think that could be, when looking at habit change and doing pre and post surveys to see kind of what true habits have actually changed throughout your programs. And so by doing those surveys, then you can have, a report that shows those changes that are made. You can do an analysis and show the percentage of change that is happening and get really specific. And so it's hard. I know it's dependent on the client, but I think being an expert in this field and talking about other options that are going to show long-term change and what's sustainable, and really providing that value, and also using past experiences. If you had another client that had good success with a certain program, being able to share that I've done this and it's worked, and showing that you've kind of established this really strong program, and hoping that through those conversations you can kind of start to come together and maybe look at outcomes, what type of outcomes you're looking to achieve a bit differently. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for staying a few minutes late and answering all of our questions. Guys, we know that there have been some more questions here. People looking for some references as well for some of the statistics that we've talked about. Caroline, you have your email there. So I hope you don't mind if some people ping you with any questions that we weren't able to get to today. But mostly everyone, please stay tuned. Later we'll send the replay for this webinar, including the Q&A section. We'll send the resources slide. And so you'll be able to have some next steps to take there to further your knowledge on corporate wellness programs. Yes.
Please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to continue this conversation with you. And thank you all so much for tuning in. And I hope that this is leaving you feeling ready to take action and start moving into this space.
Thank you, Caroline. This was wonderful. We've loved having you, and we love having you in our Healthie community. You're a great partner for us. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and check in next time for the next webinar.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.